In July of 2014, I explored the internet about one of my favorite games of all time at the time period, Phantasy Star Online, Episode 1 and 2 for the GameCube. I came across a video about Meseta duping and item stacking, and that was my first experience with speedrunning. Hey guys, it's Genesis Probe, and today I'm going to do a speedrun history of myself. So like I said, it all started back in July of 2014. I've been playing Phantasy Star Online for multiple years, and then I decided to look into making the game more interesting. If there's anything I could do to break it or potentially do something to make it more interesting, because I had done my own amount of glitching on my own, but nothing I did resulted in anything useful. So I went to the internet and I found these videos about how to get infinite Meseta, which is the in-game currency, and how to do item stacking. In the game, you're only supposed to be able to equip one item at a time, but with item stacking, you can trick the game into equipping as many items as you want up to the inventory cap of 30. After that, I looked into Episode 1 speedruns, and I found a whole new world opened up to me. Unfortunately, I never ended up actually playing that game, but maybe someday I'll go back and do that, because that is definitely something I'm looking forward to since I have invested so much time into that game previously. Instead, eventually 2015 rolled around, and then I decided to start actually looking into doing real speedruns. I looked into Tales of Symphonia, I looked at some glitches that could be done, some exploits. I looked into Xenoblade Chronicles and found a any percent speedrun of that game and thought it was very interesting. And then I turned my attention towards the spin-off, Xenoblade Chronicles X. When I looked into that, I found that it was a much more manageable game, and it was another game that I had been playing for a long period of time on my own. I had spent multiple hundreds of hours working on save files to achieve 100% completion. Unfortunately, I never did it, which is something I'm a little upset about even to this day, but I am working on it right now, of course. It is one of my favorite games that I love playing in my spare time. And so I decided to start learning any percent. So when I decided to start getting into it, I talked with some of the top speedrunners at the time. Grand was the main person that I talked to, and he really helped me try to figure out what I needed to do in order to work on the game. I also came forward to talk about potentially adding a 100% category to the game. Adding 100% category would include getting 100% Mira survey. Mira is the planet you're on, and the map is divided into hexagons. And once you accomplish something inside of the said hexagon, it is surveyed, and you make progress towards surveying the world. Once you do something in every single hexagon, you have 100% survey. From there, I spent a lot of time learning the route and practicing, and I made it to a point where I got to a grinding portion of the game. So you have to spend, for any percent, about 1 hour grinding from level 10 to level 50, because you need to be at least level 50 to start the final chapter of the game. When I got to that point, I learned the strategies on how to do that, but then I found myself being a little upset with how it worked, and I definitely did not want to play a game that required grinding so much. So then I ended up turning my attention to another game that I had spent a lot of time playing and replaying, getting for 100%, and that would be The Last of Us. When I first stepped up to Last of Us, it was definitely a game that I've been playing for a long time, and I was really interested in learning how to speedrun. I started by looking at collectible guides to try and figure out how I could do every single collectible in a single speedrun. Of course, it's just doing any percent, but you're not doing as many broken glitches to skip areas because you have to get a collectible from all the collectibles in every single area. Getting all the collectibles entails getting all of the 85 artifacts, 30 Firefly pendants, 14 comic books, and 12 training manuals. You don't have to do any of the joke sequences, which did used to be part of the category because it changed from 100% to all collectibles. At the time, I had decided that that was a category I wanted to do because I have always been a completionist. I've always sought to get 100% whenever I do something. So, on January 29th, 2017, I completed my first ever speedrun. And it was of Last of Us All Collectibles with an end time of 4 hours, 41 minutes, and 14 seconds. It wasn't a very good run at the time, considering that the world record I was playing against was about 3 hours, 58 minutes, and 8 seconds. So it wasn't very good to begin with, but it was definitely an alright starting point. About 2 days later, I managed to complete another run that was quite a bit better. I ended up with a final time of 4 hours, 28 minutes, and 26 seconds. It was a huge improvement because even though it was only 2 days apart, I had been getting a lot better at the game, I was making fewer mistakes, and it showed that I was growing as I was working on the game. Another 3 days later, on February 3rd, 2017, I did my third completion of the speedrun, and I got a 4:01:46, and that was another 27-minute improvement. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite there yet, and I was still a little disappointed that I came within 4 minutes of the world record, but wasn't able to get it.
Come on, come on, come on. Go, 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 go. Ellie, faster!
Bet I will.
Dude, 55 seconds. Come on, Ellie. Come on, Ellie. Come on, Ellie. Ellie, faster! No, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Ellie, come on. Ellie, come on. 40 seconds. 40 seconds.
Just a little bit further now.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Come on, come on, come on. Joel, be faster. 20 seconds. 25 seconds. 25 seconds. Come on, triangle, 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 triangle.
I got it.
Yes! I got the world record! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Luckily for me, 22 days later, on February 25th, 2017, I achieved my first ever world record of Last of Us, getting a 3:57:53. Shortly thereafter that, I did continue running the game for a while, but then some new competitors came up and started playing the game, as well as some very, very good players who had been working on Grounded glitchless. Grounded is the hardest difficulty, and they were doing a glitchless run. They saw me working on the 100% category, known as all collectibles, and decided to move in to work on that. In fact, the person who had the previous world record had also done all the joke locations, so they've had to wait for all of those, and their level of gameplay was so far ahead of mine that they managed to cut 37 minutes off my world record and get about a 3:20. And that kind of made me a little demoralized about the run. Yes, I was able to hold the world record for a short amount of time, but it definitely resulted in a mentality that I don't think I would ever reach that level. So shortly thereafter, I stopped speedrunning Last of Us and moved on to a different game. Around the end of February, it's around the time that I got the world record for Last of Us, I decided to move on to another game that I had been playing for a while, and that was Tomb Raider 2013. So that game had come out, I beat it with 100%, it was a really fun game, I played through it multiple times to get all the upgrades and all the skills and try to max out on the achievements. Around that time, because I had been working on speedrun.com, and submitting all my Last of Us speedruns, I decided to look at what they had available. And I looked at the 100% speedrun done by Vamp Streak. It was a very interesting run, and because it was on PC, it was fundamentally different from a console speedrun, because when it comes to Tomb Raider 2013, some of the optional content which are the challenge tombs, are unavailable on PC unless you purchase the DLC. And a lot of the players did not want to purchase all the DLC, so they would only use one DLC that made climbing a lot easier. So all the PC speedruns were very different from console speedruns for 2013. So I decided to, after watching that run, I was like, okay, I'm going to route it myself. I saw this person do it, and I know where everything is, so I'm going to try routing the game myself. So following the next couple months, I started working on routing 100% for that game. And I continued working on it and working on it and working on it. And I managed to come up with a route that was good. Unfortunately, it didn't use the glitches available at the time. It was based on glitchless progression, which was a little bit of a downside. It wasn't something that I felt happy with at the time because it didn't incorporate all the glitches. So around the end of May of 2017, I decided to shift over to a different game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the sequel. That was a game that I had previously tried to play on PC, but my computer wasn't working with it, and I kept having a lot of issues when I tried to get through intro. So I ended up stopping playing that and doing some other games. At one point, after I had talked with the Tomb Raider community, because my origin story with the community is pretty funny, originally I was playing 2013 and I asked questions about it in the Rise of the Tomb Raider forums on speedrun.com. In fact, they're still there. You can go look at them if you'd like. I guess I could put a link to that in the description. But I talked to them about what to do for 100% and what it would entail. And then they later posted a thing about how to get infinite experience in one of the areas. And then I realized that I was talking about the wrong game, and I transitioned over to the 2013 group. So when I decided to move over to Rise, they at least knew who I was and what I was looking to do inside the game. So I decided to move over to Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I bought the PS4 version of the game. And from that point, I played the game strictly on PS4. I spent a lot of time working on it. I talked with a lot of the people who were the top speedrunners, mainly Leamy, Brassmaster, Artistic Ballistic, and Mr. Tao. They helped me a lot in learning how to do the speedrunning. I ended up making my first speedrun about many months later. In January of 2018, I felt prepared and ready. So I tried to do the first 100% console speedrun of Rise of the Tomb Raider. And in fact, it wasn't even the first console run, it was the first 100% run at all. So I decided to get right into it. Once I managed to complete the intro skip successfully, which was the first time I'd done it with the clock on, I think I probably did 30 or 40 attempts before actually progressing past that point. I just went to the end of the run because that was the hardest glitch to do in the entire speed run for 100%. So I made it all the way to the end. I didn't make it as optimal as I could because it was the first run. It didn't need to be. And when I managed to finish it on January 29th, 2018, I completed the first 100% speed run for Rise of the Tomb Raider on console at 5:49:35. It definitely wasn't a good run. There's a lot of room for improvement, but it was something I was happy with as a starting point. It was under 6 hours, which was all I cared about. I wanted it to be under that because it is definitely a large commitment to make a speedrun like this. I ended up breaking away from speedrun for a little bit after that. I didn't do runs as often as I would have liked, or I kept failing at intro or in Syria, which were the two hardest areas of the game, in my opinion at the time, being fairly inexperienced. Doing those initial glitches to get through those areas I found extremely difficult. And so because I never made it past Syria, if I didn't end up making it past Syria before I think it was 20 minutes, I decided to just ditch the run and just reset, start over. As a result, school came into play and I wasn't able to continue doing speedrunning for a while. When I did manage to come back, I'd finished finals, and the first run I did on June 8th, 2018 resulted in a new world record, which is still standing to this day, of 5:20:19. It's still a very rough run. It's not great. There's a lot of things I can improve, and because I've spent so much more time playing with the game, I am a significantly better player. Going back and watching it, there were so many mistakes I made that I can always fix, and maybe someday I'll go back to messing with the console again, but right now, I am a PC runner with a controller. I am a joke in the community. but they still seem to like me and have me, so I'm going to stay. Shortly after that, because I had purchased the PC version a long time ago, I ended up talking with them to get it working again. And I managed to get it working eventually by just upgrading and installing the new patches on the game. And once I had done that, which for some reason Steam didn't do that originally, it was working beautifully. And so I started working on routing 100% for PC. Since I had spent a lot of time with console, I talked with mainly Limi. Thank him so much for all the help he's provided me on working on this. He's a godsend. With his help, I was able to come up with a very decent route for 100% speedrun. One person previously had done it. His name was a Torazil, and he had a 3:56 for his time. And it was definitely a good time. It's not something that was particularly bad, but it also had a lot of small things that he could have improved on, or because of his PC, he had to spend a bunch of time in menus working on changing his VSync setting to allow him to do glitches differently. And I definitely wanted to contest that record because I always run for 100%. That was where I started, and that's where I want to finish. So, on December 12th, 2018, I finished my first 100% PC speedrun with a time of 4:28:57. It was definitely significantly better because it was an hour less than the PS4 speedrun that I had done previously, but most of that is due to loading times. I spent a lot more time with the category, working to improve things. Unfortunately, I still wasn't great at Syria or intro, so I spent a lot of time resetting, and it took me around 2 more months before I got a run that I was happy with. And on February 26th, 2019, I completed my second 100% speedrun with a time of 3:58:06. I was getting very close to toppling a Torazil's record, and that was my goal at the time, was just to do better than he had done. Because I had spent so much time working on 100%, I felt like it was my goal to finish it. I had worked on routing the console category, and I definitely worked a lot on routing the PC category, with Limi, of course. Thank him so much. But shortly after that, I decided that I wanted to do something a little different. I wasn't interested in doing any percent because it was a very, very difficult speedrun, and it was not something that I wanted to put myself in to do. So instead, I started looking towards other categories. After playing on my console again, I remembered that there was the Baba Yaga DLC that opens an entirely different area called the Wicked Veil and another whole quest chain that you need to accomplish with its own separate goals. So I thought, it'd be really interesting to turn that into a category and call it the Wicked Veil percent. I thought, okay, how can I do a category like this? And so I started by just working with the basic any percent strategies and getting all the way to the end of the gulag. Because once you pass the gulag, you unlock the ability to complete the Baba Yaga DLC. So, after doing that, you run off to save Nadia, and then you immediately gain access to the Wicked Veil the next time you head towards the Voice of God challenge tomb. So, I worked on it, and I eventually, for my first try, put out a speedrun on March 27th, 2019 of 47:43 for glitched Wicked Veil percent. It was definitely something that I enjoyed doing. It was a very short category considering that I'd only run 100%, which took almost 5 hours of real time. Doing a run that took maybe an hour of real time was a significant improvement and something that I felt I could do whenever I didn't want to invest 5 hours or I just didn't have that time. I could still do a speedrun of some kind. Shortly thereafter that, I found a speedrun marathon that I wanted to participate in. And this was the Tomb Raider Marathon. Someone had mentioned that it was running, and I definitely was interested in doing it, considering that I had already purchased my tickets to go to ESA, the European Speedrunner Assembly for 2019. And I thought this would be a good practice for me to do that, because we managed to get Rise of the Tomb Raider into ESA. So in mid-April, I joined the Tomb Raider Marathon 4 crew and submitted my 100% speedrun. During the marathon, I had an additional set of categories I told them I could work on. On May 19th, because someone had a PC failure, we had to fill the space with something. Unfortunately, at the time, I also had my fair share of PC failures, but I managed to get it up and running before their time slot ended, so I decided to do a Wicked Veil glitchless speedrun. Unfortunately, I didn't have my clock running, but I do know that in real time it was a 1:08:51 run, and it was the first one that I had completed. So it definitely was a decent run. It wasn't great, but it was it was a good starting point. And it was also my first introduction to glitchless, considering that I didn't know anything about glitchless and their strategies. It was definitely a new category for me to do, but it was also something that I managed to accomplish during a marathon, which was good because it also gave me an introduction in how to commentate and everything. Following that, on the next day, because that actually happened on May 18th, but it was close to midnight, so it carried over. But on May 19th, it came to my speedrun for 100%. And I managed to fail intro skip. So I made a small request saying, can I start over? Because we're only a minute and a half into the run. Would it be possible for me to try it again? After some thought, they decided that yes, it would be okay for me to start over since it was very short, but I would not be given the privilege of doing that a second time. And I said thank you, and managed to reset and start it again. No one, least of all myself, saw what was going to be happening that run. It started out decent. I started losing time early on, but that's always what happens. I ended up leaving the gulag at 30 plus 37 seconds on my PB. Unfortunately, I had the timer running, but I wasn't showing it on the stream, so you won't be able to see it until the end of the speedrun when I show it. But take my word for it. The run from there just seemed to start getting better. I started getting gold splits. I got multiple golds back to back. My play seemed to be working very well, and by the time I entered Katesh, I realized that I was on pace for a 3:44, which was something that I did not even imagine was possible at the time. That was 12 minutes faster than the current world record. And after 316 attempts, this was the one that I knew at that point would secure me the victory if I didn't make a large mistake. In fact, the pressure started to get to me as I was going through this run. There is one mission, or one challenge in Katesh that requires you to destroy 8 banners using fire. You can use fire arrows or Molotovs or whatever. I ended up destroying all 8 banners, but because I was under so much pressure, and because every time I'd run previously I forgot one banner, I completely somehow ignored the big text at the top that said banner was completed and started to panic thinking that I missed one and I would lose all my time. Spawn out of nowhere. They just don't exist and spawn. It's there? Wait, where's the other banner? There should be one more here. No, I missed a banner! No, there should be 2 here. Wait, no, there should be 2 here. One.
No, banner wars, you got it.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's
I finished it?
complete. Yeah, it said challenge complete banner wars.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I swore I saw 7 and I was having a panic attack. I'm a little upset to say that the pressure really did start to get to me from there, and it just got worse as we continued. I made it through Katesh going decently well. I made a few mistakes and started to bleed some time, but I still came out of Katesh and got to the final fight with a decent amount of time left. I did start to choke the final fight. Some parts went bad. I started dying. But I still managed to come out of it with a good time. And then we got to the post game. The one thing about 100% is that you're given a mission to complete all 9 challenge tombs and then go back to see someone in Geothermal Valley. This lady only can let you turn in the mission after you've completed all 9 challenge tombs and received their secrets. So we have to restart the game. On top of, once you restart the game, you get 1% completion from watching that cutscene. So we have to do that anyway because we need 100% file completion. We need to go in and talk to the woman to turn in the mission. On top of, after doing some extra routing, we found that there are some collectibles that it's better to collect or are only possible after you've moved far past that area, such as Acropolis. There is a document and a coin cache that are completely inaccessible on your first visit, but only become accessible after you make it through the flooded archives. As I got to the end of the Acropolis, I thought I had this. It would have been a 350, would have been an amazing time, and I would have been very happy with it. Because I did bleed a lot of time. I thought a 350 would be okay. And so I got to the end and realized I am still missing something. Because once you receive 100%, you receive an item called the Thunderclap, which is a special shotgun that is your reward for 100%ing the game. At that moment, I thought I threw it and I didn't have it anymore because I didn't know what I had missed or where it was. Give me it, please. I deserve this. I deserve this. Please. Let me move on to play Shadow. Oh, I turned too much. Come on. Come on. Just go through the wall. Laura! Oh, she's through the wall!
Yes!
We're not there yet. Go! Ah! Oh, where do I aim again? Oh my god, where do I aim again?
Oh no.
Oh, I found. Come on. Get out of the water! Go. Give me the thunderclap. 3, 2, 1, please! Okay, we're done! Oh my god!
Did you get it? Is that it?
I think you got it.
Okay, what was the world record? I don't know what it was. I need
How'd
to
you
check.
get it?
What's the
What was the world record?
Did we get it?
what's the time?
What is it?
Did we get it?
What's the time?
What was it? Oh my god, I got it by a minute and 41 seconds.
Yes!
Yeah!
Oh.
You can breathe now.
And managed to close out the run with a 3:52:55. That would be a happy conclusion to the story, and at the time when I first thought about making this video, that is where I wanted to end this. But since then, we managed to have the ESA run for Rise Glitchless be accepted. So that means that me, Limi, and another runner named Piku Fighter have a 3-way glitchless race during the event. But when they first put it on the schedule, my name was not a part of it, and I wanted to know why. As such, the person I talked to was very kind and quick to respond, saying that because I didn't have a leaderboard time for glitchless, there was no proof that I would be on a similar playing level to the other runners, and so until I submitted something, they would not add me to the schedule. So right then and there, I talked with Limi, and he taught me the glitchless category. He gave me a quick rundown of the game, and immediately after that, I did my first Rise Any Percent glitchless run of 2 hours and 49 seconds on June 1st, 2019. I submitted it, and right after that they said it was good because it was about in time with all the other runners. In fact, it was faster than Piku's, but slower than Limi's. So it was a good middle ground for a starting run. Since then, I have improved the record a couple of times. On June 15th, 2019, I managed to finish another glitchless run in a race with Limi, actually, of 156.49. Following that wasn't the end of the story, because even as recently as June 30th, 2019, I made another glitchless race with Limi. We both did our first race, and He did beat me, but I got a PB of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 40 seconds. He proceeded to do another run with the other player who has recently earned a world record for glitchless, named Drummer QW. And they both had a decent run, but neither of them got world record. Following that, me and Leamy decided to do a second race. And both of us managed to beat the world record. He finished before me with a time of 1:47. I don't remember what the seconds are. Because in the moment, I was very, very frustrated about my run. Because in Katesh, I choked again. I thought I had ruined the entire run because I had lost over a minute. Almost 2 minutes, actually, after going back and looking at it. But I still managed to close out the run with a new world record of 1:49.16, which beat Drummer's previous record by 30 seconds. Of course, it wasn't the actual world record, because Leamy had finished his run almost a minute and 30 seconds faster than me. So it was a pseudo record, but I did post it, and it got accepted as the temporary world record. Once Leamy decides to submit his run, that will be the new world record. Since then, I have been working on more glitchless, but I have yet to complete a run that did better. And I know my history isn't done yet, because there's a lot more things I want to do. I want to go back and play 2013, and someday I want to move on and play Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the sequel game, and get 100% in all 3 games. But that is going to be a story for another day. For now, this is the end of my speedrun history. Like I said, it's not the actual end, but it is the end of the current chapter. I hope you all enjoyed.